Hi, Hetal.
Ma'am, I think you need to rename yourself because it shows Pooja Nagdev.
Okay, how do I do it?
Well,
I'm having to log in with my phone because I'm not. How do I change the name?
uh,
I
there
have to
will
log
be an
in
option
again.
like there should be 3 dots on the top where you can rename yourself, where your video is showing. One second, I will tell you. I'll log in from my
I think
phone
I have
and
to
I'll tell
rejoin. Then it
Yeah, your name has come now.
is my video all right?
It
Hello,
it it froze in the
hello.
middle. Now I can see you.
Is it all right?
Yeah. People have like 1 or 2 have started joining. I'll admit when there are a few people in the waiting room.
Recording in progress.
Hi, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sharda.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Hi, I'm Sharda. Can we have introductions of people who are all? I see some 4 people are there.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking a lot.
Can you hear me?
Now it is better.
Hello? Ketan, are you there?
Ma'am, it keeps
Hetal?
breaking. Hello. Your voice keeps breaking in the middle.
Sorry?
Your voice keeps breaking in the middle, so we couldn't hear you properly.
Yeah, I said since we are only 4 of us, can we have some introductions?
Yeah.
Ananya, are you from media? Which paper publication? This won't work. Please come and do something, and then you have not been able to do it. I mean, the conference has started, they're not able to hear me. Otherwise, if it doesn't work today, I'm going to shift the location, I'm telling you. I'm very sorry because my internet is very bad. I've been asking the hotel management to send.
Would it help if you keep the video off? Because that might take a lot of data. So maybe keep the video off and just keep the mic on. Ma'am, we can't hear you.
Hi, Hetal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Pooja, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am.
we can hear you now.
Yeah, Pooja, you have to take care of this hotel because the internet is very bad. Tomorrow we are going to have problems if this is the kind of a thing if when somebody wants to use the internet.
Okay, okay. I'll speak to them.
Did you send the invite to the link to Vibhuti?
Yes, ma'am. She had registered herself.
But you send the link also, not to her.
Yeah, this afternoon also we sent.
Hi, Vibhuti.
Did I put up the poster?
Hi, Vibhuti.
Hi, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. How are you? Thanks so much for joining.
Ah,
Yeah.
I think I'll look poster. I'll put up poster.
Please connect the laptop because this. Let me mute it first.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Someone is coming. Just have to connect it well. Morning.
People have just started joining in, so we'll wait for a couple of minutes and then we can start.
Hello, Sharda. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Dr. Shada?
Population first host. Yeah. I would also like to show the film. I can do it at my end, and I have also kept the link on the chat in your population first direct message meeting chat.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Huh?
ma'am.
It is equal half. It's a short, very short documentary, but there are 4 case studies of gender responsive budgeting in Nagaland and this one, Kerala, then work of Ministry of Science and Technology in Sundarban and macro analysis. No? So
Okay.
it is made by UN Women.
You
got
will
the
be
link.
showing it, or do you
Yeah,
want me to?
I can show it. Yes, I can show you.
Okay. Okay. Should we wait 2 more minutes, or
Right, yeah.
we have 44 participants till now?
Yeah.
Sorry, Vibhu. Sorry, Vibhuti. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. There was some problem with the internet, so the delay.
Yeah.
I'm extremely sorry for this.
No.
Your backdrop is looking very nice.
Budget. Yeah.
Budget, yeah. Very
Because I've been
very-
doing this since 94. So when the
No, but
Panchayati
the
Raj Act came.
backdrop looks really pretty.
Oh,
Yeah. So shall we start?
yes.
We have around 40 participants. I'm
Yeah.
sure others will be joining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we
if all
have
of you
around-
can just put in your introduction in the chat, just one line to which organization you put. You we have the details, right, Hetal?
Yes, ma'am. They
All the
have filled.
participant details, but how many of them have attended? Can you make out? Or ask them to just give one line intro in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay.
We have around 49 participants, right?
Okay. Sure. Registered were around 90, right?
Registered were around 153.
Yeah.
So
I
people are
hope-
still joining in.
Yeah. Chalo, let's start the.
Okay. A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Masterclass on Analyzing Budget through a Gender Lens with Professor Vibhuti Patel. We are truly delighted to have each of you here today as we look at the significance of budget decisions in relation to gender equality and equity. We are incredibly fortunate to have Professor Vibhuti Patel, a true expert in this field, guiding us. By the end of this masterclass, we hope you'll have gained a fresh and insightful perspective on budgets and gender. Please feel free to put your questions and comments in the chat box so we can take those up at the end. I would request Dr. Shada to say a few words.
Thank you, Hetal, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you. And a big thank you to Vibhuti for accepting our invitation. And it is always such a pleasure to listen to Vibhuti because she's so very knowledgeable, she's so humble, and then she loves sharing what she knows with others. And not just what she knows, but whatever resources she has, she's always there, willing to share and collaborate and for her, the cause is more important than any other thing. And I'm a great admirer, and she's my role model. So I'm very happy to have her here today. And whenever she talks about budget and gender, and basically, I'm a person who's very scared of big numbers, so I have problem counting beyond a lakh, I think. So I get a little scared of those big numbers, and it's so uh, wonderful listening to her and so very insightful listening to her because how do we look at a budget, state budget or the central budget and see whether our politicians are putting the money where their mouth is really? So they make such big, big promises, but when it comes to really working on allocating budgets or ensuring that their promises are realized, there is very little effort. And as media people, I feel that all of us should know how to analyze the budgets because most of the time when a budget is released, the focus is on so many things like industrial development and big investments or on tax issues and petrol and many other things which are related to economic development. But what about social development? What is it that the budget comes to social development? And we hardly find any women speakers or experts at the, in the panel discussions. So there's a lot that needs to be done. One is to increase greater awareness about how to analyze budgets from a gender perspective. And if you have more people who are capable of talking knowledgeably, I think we'll have more people, women participating in the analysis and discussions on budget. So it still looks like women are not part of discussions on budget. We hardly have any, I don't think how many times Vibhuti has been called on a main channel, like India Today or something to discuss budget. I really don't know. But the fact is that it's always male dominated. Males are there all the time, and then women are not given the given an opportunity to talk about budgets. So I hope all of you learn how to analyze budgets. And as media persons, not only will you analyze the budget from a gender perspective, but also call people who are knowledgeable about budget and gender on the panel discussions. Make this discussion an integral part of any budget analysis. So with these few words, I hand over to her. Hetal.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to give a brief introduction about Professor Vibhuti Patel. Dr. Vibhuti Patel is currently the Vice President of Indian Association for Women's Studies. She retired as a professor, Advanced Center for Women's Studies, School of Development Studies, Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai, in 2020. Prior to that, she was a professor and head of economics department of SNDT University. She was a director at postgraduate studies and research of SNDT Women's University from 2006 to 12. She did her doctorate in economics from University of Mumbai and was awarded a postdoctoral fellowship from Association of Commonwealth Universities in 1992 to conduct the research at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Her areas of specialization have been gender economics, women's studies, human rights, social movements, and gender budgeting. She has authored a lot of papers and books. Some of them are women's Challenge of the New Millennium, Indian Women Change and Challenge, Status Report for ICSSR, Critical Evaluation of Women's Studies Research during 1947 and 1998. She has edited 2 books, namely Discourse on Women and Empowerment and Girls and Girlhood at the Threshold of Youth and Gender. Dr. Vibhuti Patel has been a member of various expert committees for IGNOU, Ministry of Science and Technology, and NCRT Delhi during 2005 to 2014. She prepared a base paper on gender for Mumbai Human Development Report 2009, MMRDA Human Development Report, and co-authored Socioeconomic Status of Muslims in Maharashtra for Maharashtra State Minority Commission. Currently, she is a governing board member. Am I audible? I think.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Currently, she is governing board member of Women Power Connect, Indian Council of Trust Basic Education.
Yeah, go ahead. You're audible.
Okay, I think there was a disturbance in my head. I'm sorry. During the last three and a half decades of Professor Vibhuti Patel has presented papers and has been a resource person in several national and international seminars, workshops, collaborative research projects, training programs, and conferences on economics and development studies with gender perspective in various parts of India and abroad. So, over the last 4 decades, Professor Vibhuti Patel's work has focused on issues of intersectionality, where gender and development and social justice meet. So, with that brief introduction, I would like to hand it over to Professor Vibhuti Patel.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sharda and Dr. and the Population First team for putting this masterclass together. It is really a humbling experience where so many I can see there are academicians, research scholars, journalists, and women activists are there here as participants. When it came to gender responsive budget training, it was in 1994 when India, when our constitutional amendment, 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment took place. And in one stroke of pen, we had 1 million women who crossed the threshold of domesticity and entered the public life as elected representatives. And in city of Mumbai, when 1/3 women corporators were being hooted and they were laughed at, and people, all the male corporators were poking fun at them and that they did not know, and the BMC's budget, our Bombay Municipal Corporation budget book is so fat, and they were just throwing questions at women corporators that what do you know about, what is the revenue account, what is the expenditure account, do you know what are the major head and minor head and subhead and program and scheme, do you know how to write proposal, do you know double entry account, do you know? So all this, that it was at that time that Youth for Unity and Action, Yuva's director Minar Pimple, he requested me and Dr. Neera Desai, because Neera Desai knew about the women's studies, I was a teacher of economics, and he says, can you just demystify the budget and explain, because these are the women corporators, they are given area development fund, and how judiciously they can use this fund, and if your fund remains unutilized and you don't serve your constituency, you use your credibility. In fact, they used to say that what is of use of yours? You can just offer garland and you can offer bouquet and you can do flag hoisting on 15th August and 26th January. Beyond that, there is no utility. So much so that the women corporators were not even allowed to use vehicle or to deal with anything that had to do with the money. So it is in this context that my journey of gender responsive budgeting began. And I started, first of all, one knew in theory that budgets operate. They are the public funds, the fiscal policy related to that. But operationally, operational dimension of this, so that we can do the capacity enhancement. It is so easy to deride women for the first time in their whole civilization. They are allowed to play public role as a constituency, political constituency. So instead of calling them sarpanchpati and puppets in the hands of their male members, we from 1994 have been continuously working with women elected representatives and enhancing their capacity about the budget and financial issues. And we all know, when we talk about gender responsive budgeting, first, like any other budget, what you do is to raise citizens' awareness on gender and also impacts the budget can have, and the kind of policies which can create enabling environment or disabling environment. Okay, if you just go on, like during 80s, so many Asian countries, they were to earn the foreign exchange, they were encouraging sex tourism. It was the state which was promoting and showing the petite Asian girls to attract the foreign tourists. And the women gender economists and feminists, they vehemently opposed it, that this is not going to create any. We want to have foreign exchange, we want economic growth, but not at the cost of women's dignity and bodily integrity. So that then they had to change the policy. The same thing in Goa, when Goa opened, the minister announced that they opened Goa's territory for 200 varieties of alcohol, and they would levy special cess on alcohol, and the money collected through sale of alcohol will be used for survivor of domestic violence and also state-of-the-art hospital for liver and kidney. So the person like Albertina and Bailancho sir, they said, what is use? Why are you creating? First of all, you create the problem by 200, such a small little state. Why do you need 200 varieties of alcohol? First of all, international market is saturated of alcohol. Western people have become more conscious about damages which alcoholism can create. They don't drink like fish. And why do you want to flush this economy? When Goan women, we used to apply for funds for any developmental activity. Even banks like IDBI would say that, why do you want SHG? We are going to give funds to 5-star hotels and casinos. And you can become bartenders. No, Goan women are westernized. They can become bartenders. So imagine that was the way bureaucrats and politicians were seeing the role of Goan women, and they opposed it. Now, second thing is to change the budgets and policies to promote gender equality, which is very important. That's what women's groups in Goa insisted. When the best quality of wheat was diverted for production of beer in Punjab, it was women from Panchayati Raj institutions, elected women representatives in local self-government bodies. They were up in arm against the state. They said, what is this? You are people need roti, they need chapati, they need bread, they need food to eat. And how can you divert PDS, the grain which had to be distributed through PDS channel, to divert it to make the alcohol? And then every 2 kilometers, they were given a license also to start an alcohol shop on the state highways and national highways, which resulted in massive accidents, a road rage. For small little thing, people would fight and start hitting each other. And there is also a gun culture also there. And then these women, they said, nothing doing. We don't want these alcohol shop owners to starve, but let them convert these alcohol shops into fruit juice shop, because Punjab and Haryana have a variety of fruits. They can sell lassi, they can sell fruit juice, and they force the government to stop this kind of activity using taxpayers' money. Third aspect is to make governments accountable for gender equality through budgetary commitments, that whatever proclamations you have made in the Constitution of India, in the women empowerment policy, of promotion of women's education, their employment, their skill building, their capacity enhancement, fighting against gender-based violence, all these things need to be translated. It has to be backed by money, backed by funding, because in a market economy, without fund, you can't execute any of your programs and vision. So that was very, very important. And there is a 5-step approach. And I'm going to show you a short documentary also, that is, so that first, to identify gender issues in whichever sector, whether you are examining agricultural sector, what are the important problems of women farmers? There is an organization called Mahila Kisan Adhikar Manch. You know how the women farmers played a leading role during the farmers' struggle just a year back. So identifying their issues, why Kisan cards are given only to man farmers, why aren't they given to women? Why do we see women farmers only as a farmer's wife or farmer's daughter or farmer's mother? Isn't she a farmer? Whole subsistence sector is looked after by them. What kind of support do we give? And unless you give them, register them as farmer and you give them a status of farmer, they will not be able to benefit from any of the schemes and the fund allocation by Ministry of Agriculture. If you are talking about the industrial sector, if there are most of the women are in the Jodi system or in the, say in the construction sector, or they are not registered as workers, how will they get social protection and social security? And there is a budget for that. Why do this kind of budgets, they remain unutilized? So that is the questioning that you have to do. If it is the Ministry of Social Defense, then you have to say that why 1,000 crores each year from 2013 allocated for Nirbhaya fund remains unutilized. Only 4 or 5 states are using that to say 40 to 60%. So massive underutilization of funds. And when the bureaucrats, when you talk about the Swadhar scheme for women in difficult circumstances, bureaucrats, they snub you by saying that if we start creating Swadhar homes, women will start running away on flimsy ground and the family system will disintegrate. Now, if the principal secretary has this ideology, is he going to use the fund? No. So there are states after states, there is 100% non-utilization. So media can play a very important role. After the Mohammad Bahabajahuddin, he wrote article in Times of India in the front page, and he said the 299 crore rupees allocated by Ministry of Minority Affairs for the socio-economic upliftment and socio-economic development of Muslim community. Then the ministry had to, Chief Minister had to appoint a special committee that what has happened after Sachar committee report was in 2016. In 7 years, in 2013, he had to, so one article in Times of India sensitized Mantralaya. So it is a journalist can play a very, very important role if they judiciously examine budget. This is the first time we saw that there are audit. Earlier, there was a time when I was a child, there were only industrialists and chartered accountants were bothered about union budget, and they all would go to Brabant Stadium to listen to some of the wizards, national level luminaries in the budget analysis. Now that's not the case. You have a child rights organization, they do child audit of budget. You have a Dalit organization, they examine the scheduled caste plan. You have a minorities which are going through the minorities budget. You have a tribal organization who are examining the tribal sub plan. In fact, currently even in in Manipur agitation, also very much related to the who gets which tribes are getting all the funds of the state and who are left out. Those who are in forest, why are they left out from any of the state intervention for education, health, employment, area development, sanitation, ecological, this thing, electrification, all these things. Now, second thing is a baseline. So collection of information is very important. You need to know the status. All economists are currently, even social activists, all of us are screaming that we don't have data. If you have data gap, you are shooting in the dark. You need to have a data to target your this thing. You have to know how many facilities are required. So that is why one day before the budget, economic survey is released, whether it is a municipal budget or the subnational budget or the union budget. Third step is a conducting gender analysis of activities. Whichever activities, you may have an excellent scheme or a program, but budget is very limited. Like Balika Samriddhi Yojana, you have seen first year it was a 5 crore. What can you do with 5 crore for such a big country like India? And the Balikas have so many problems. And you can have a faulty program where like after the India adopted NEP and globalization LPG program, women economists, they met Mr. Manmohan Singh, who was a finance minister then, that India has a very high maternal mortality rate. And if this kind of a privatization is going to take place, public health will be dismantled, more and more women will die. Then government said, okay, as a matter of social protection, we come up with the maternity benefit scheme, like a maternity benefit scheme for below was created. They had not written the rules and design of it. So what happened that whenever women applied for maternity benefits in agricultural worker, forest worker, informal sector worker, they applied, the bureaucrat would say, but you have not delivered the child. In certain states, women delivered the child and applied for maternity benefit. They said, no, I've already said delivered the child. Why do you need now money? You manage, no? So this is the way, except for Kerala, all state had unutilized fund because bureaucrats, governance structures, they need clear-cut designing. So targeting, designing, which words that you use in the scheme, they become very important. So activities, and sometimes you do activities with a very good intention. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, when it was started, in so many studies showed that, okay, after Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, all boys were in the school. There were studies in Midnapur and Santal region and all. All the boys who were earlier child workers, they were in school, and their sisters had taken over their load. Because when we talk about so many times, when we say scheme is for all, benefits are for all, then those who are weaker, those who have a weaker bargaining power, they are left out. Then there was a demand that the way we have a scheduled caste plan, totally targeting scheduled caste, we have a tribal sub-plan, totally targeting same way we should have a women component plan. So within Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, 30% budget minimum should be targeted to girl child. And if the school is not able to, they report that we don't have any girls or we have only 2 girls, you have to identify through evaluation that why girls are not coming. Is it a question of not having safe transport, or is it they are looking after younger siblings, or they are child workers? And you have to address the problem and according. And that's why you saw that after budget analysis, in the tribal areas of Thane, they started Pongas. They started a school which was suitable to the children of the tribal people, because they were going to the farm along with their parents, and afternoon when the parents came home for 4 hours, the school timings were adjusted there. So we have a 370,000 sugarcane workers in Maharashtra who travel. For 4 months they are in Maharashtra, 8 months they are in either Gujarat or Rajasthan. So they created a scheme, and that was the major reason for children not getting educated for sugarcane workers. Then this government, all 3 state governments came together and said that can we have a teacher who is ready to travel along with the community. So when the whole community goes to Gujarat to work in a sugar factory, and they call it Sakhar Shala. So sugar factory workers or sugar factory owners were told that please allocate a couple of rooms for running the classes. So and the teacher was employed by the origin place, that means in Maharashtra, the teacher was the thing, because the workers from Maharashtra were migrating to other cities. So knowing the local reality also allows you to design your scheme. 4th one is a conducting gender analysis of related budgets. If you are talking about, say, the midday meal budget, okay, so it is not only and the midday meal is provided in the school. So you are not only going through the budget of or only school education budget, but you are also going through other budgets which are from the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Tribal Development. If there are children who are from the reserved category, so those targeted funds, can you converge all these funds so that you can give a sumptuous, good quality meal, so that you have 3, 4, 5 pools of funding to give a quality meal. And then the developing objectives and recommendations. So continuously you have to, if examine the reality and whatever changes that are taking place in reality, that is to be integrated in your budgetary allocation and budgetary recommendations, and how in which channel it will be directed. So these are the 3 very important stages. First is analysis. Second is reformulation, if the wrong targeting as it happened in Punjab. Okay, so the women, they said nothing doing, just get all the wheat only for PDS, not for alcohol making. A market can take care of alcohol. You did not use government funding for that. And they started working systematically to embed gender within the budgetary process. So initially, when 2005, when Government of India sent the circular, hardly 4 or 5 ministries gave the gender budgeting. And most of them wrote, we have nothing to do with gender, we have nothing to do with gender. And now we see that even this year, the most tough, the hardness to crack budget committee ministries, Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Mines, all of them have given gender budgeting, because as you start showing them that it is the way gender ke chashme se, from the lens of gender, when you see your ministerial responsibilities, you have to, and science and technology was the first one to respond. And they also created Mission for Empowerment of Women in Science and Technology. And they also, they were ready to give even women component, but there were not many takers because Indian women are generally not encouraged to go to opt for STEM subject. No? So after this, we can, so crucial contribution of budget. We all know that budget represents the financial plan, and it is a very important policy instrument in the hands of government, and in terms of getting macroeconomic stability, fiscal efficiency, strategic priority, and that we saw during the pandemic. Strategic priority was that under the situation of lockdown, what you needed was that people, one is starvation and hunger had to be dealt with. So starting massive community kitchens and also MG Nareka. The funds were increased to the tune of 11,000 crore. So it is a policy-making tool of government to translate government's objectives into the programs and services to achieve socio-economic development of the country. Now, the budget classification that we do, first is a policy formulation, so and performance analysis. Okay, whether there is a leakage, there is corruption, there is a non-utilization of fund, there is a lack of bureaucratic lethargy, whether there is a lack of political will. So that also is very important. Allocating the resources efficiently among a sector, you just can't favor one sector, only industrial sector or urbanization or smart city program. You have to see to it that each sector of the economy their needs and demands are looked after. And third one is ensuring compliance with the budget resources approved by the legislator. It's a public fund. It has to be vetted. It has to be passed by the elected representatives. So in a local, for the local self-government bodies, it is the members of Gram Sabha or a district council or Sarpanch and Pradhan. They have to do it. In municipal corporation, it is the standing committee which passes it. In the legislative assembly, it is the MLAs who pass it. And in the union budget, it is the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha members, parliament members, they pass it. And the day-to-day administration of budget is very important because there is a right to information. Every citizen has a right to ask how you are using. There was a place in Goregaon in Mumbai where one MLA has shown expenditure of 5 lakhs rupees for one bus shed, not bus stop, bus shed, 4 pillars and 1 tin. And the youth from that area, they said, show us that how you spent 5 lakhs rupees. So the transparency is there, and so many governments, including Maharashtra, if you go to the government portal, they would have the expenditure of the day and the revenues, which are the ways in which they are getting revenues from various taxes and various properties which the BMC has, or the bus service, from the electric service, which services that they provide to the community, and with how they are spending the money. Now, when we talk about the gender responsive budgeting, we are not talking of separate budget. It is the same budget, but looking at the budget from the gender lens. That use of public economics to reduce gender gaps is vital in the lives of women, girls, gender minority persons, because now we are transgender communities also demanding the gender audit of budget because they are abandoned by their own families. The state, most of them have to lead such a precarious and hazardous living, and they say the 2 state governments have come up with the budget for transgender community, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So education, health, food security, safety, minority employment and skills, they are very important. Number 2 is that when you do your evaluation, or even from your own experience as a citizen, when you realize that funds are going in a wrong direction, you can do advocacy, you can write to the concerned ministry and authority, and you can also write in the media, which will ensure reprioritization in public spending. Transparency and accountability. It is a public funds. You are accountable to the citizens. People have a right to ask, that what happened when the Commonwealth Games were there. Delhi minister diverted the funds which was meant for scheduled caste plan for Commonwealth Games. And the Dalit organizations made it a big, they filed public interest litigation. Another public interest litigation was filed by PUCL about the hunger in Kalahandi, where the money, the funds for the food program and for the food security of Kalahandi people who were starving of hunger was parked in the cooperative banks, and these cooperative banks were spurious, and they used their political connection, and nothing was reaching. People were dying. of hunger, but nothing was reaching, in spite of state union government spending so much on it. And then they filed the public interest litigation and demanded that any funds from the government, it should be parked in the nationalized bank, and there has to be transparency and accountability. Another thing is the lifting the veil of statistical invisibility of unpaid care economy. Because any time when the funds have to be spent on women, the standard answer is that what are they contributing to the economy? Always care economy is not respected because it is not a non-market activity. Cooking, cleaning, carrying, collection of fuel, fodder, water, animal care, kitchen gardening, the kind of work majority of poor women they do in our country, we just don't even consider that as a valuable, and that's why we don't even make any investment in them. And the planners and policymakers, they also come from middle class, and they have that kind of a bias. Even the question of water, say the women spending, the Indira Rajaraman from National Institute of Public Finance and Policy Making, she has computed the time utilization of average poor woman in a country, 6.2 years of her life. Okay, so that much time women spend in fetching of water. And you talk about the Karnataka watershed development plants and engineer, metallurgy engineer and pipeline engineer and electrical engineer and environmental engineer. They say, but ma'am, there is no problem because now 1 rupee pouch is available, no, in every village. So this is the level of sensibility when it comes to the potable water or the water for consumption. The same engineers who were talking about water for industry, water for agriculture, they were totally insensitive when it came to water for domestic consumption. So it is a very important that care economy is taken seriously. And care economy only saved us during pandemic. No, the mainstream economy was locked. Well, why are we all alive? It was the care economy where people were cooking, they were caring, they were looking after the sick, and they were cleaning their environment. Equality and efficiency dimensions are very important arguments for gender budgeting, that 50% of population cannot be left just to fend for in the market. And market is very harsh. Market only empowers those who have a bargaining power. So state has to take responsibility, and equally they have to be integrated into the economic development efforts. Second thing is efficiency. If you harness the energy, if you invest in human being, whether you go by the human capital formation approach, which is instrumental approach, you invest in people so that they give you productivity, efficiency, and $5 trillion economy. Okay, or you go by the right-based approach promoted by Amartya Kumar Sen and Pakistani economist Mehbubullah. Whichever approach you are there, even from the point of view of efficiency, enabling people, enhancing people's capacity, enhancing their entitlements, and meeting their needs, it is not an act of charity. It is a fundamental necessity of economic development that we have to accept. And that's why the macroeconomic policies, as with the promise of India in the Millennium Development Goal and Sustainable Development Goal that we have, is a gender justice, social justice, and distributive justice. They are interwoven in the gender responsive budgeting. So analyzing of situation, assessing the gender responsiveness of the state policies, assessing budget allocation, whether the amount is adequate or not, monitoring spending and delivery. If you have a Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan in Bombay Municipal Corporation, they said all children of Mumbai, we have 100% literacy, all children in Mumbai are in school, and we have unutilized money. And immediately NGOs, some 10, 15 NGOs throughout the Bombay, they did an immediate survey of the bastis and showed that more than 1 lakh children in Mumbai are still out of school. Reasons are very different. Some are looking after younger sibling, both the parents are working, or they could not cope up with the math, science, and this thing. So dropped out after 7th standard, or menstruation. The school did not have a clean toilet. So women, menstruating girls, they also gave up. So varied reasons were there, but they were out of school. So don't say that Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan fund is more. It is not more. In fact, you have not used it judiciously. So assessment of budget is very important. Monitoring spending and delivery of the services. Like earlier, instead of in the UNICEF supported massive program of child nutrition, we were giving sukda. No, that sukdi made of wheat, jaggery, and ghee. And that was centrally produced in Wagle estate in Thane. Okay, but what we saw that the outcome, it did not improve the nutrition standard of children. The malnourishment was not addressed so effectively, and this sukra, which was distributed throughout the state, by the time it reached there, it was not even usable. It was not good for human consumption because there were worms in it. It was stinking. Children would not have it. And then the budget, the same budget, it was decided. I was in that committee, state committee, Maharashtra government's committee, to visit Wagle Estate and give the report. And we said that you change the design of the money would remain the same. Decentralized food production. Let SHGs and the community organizations cook food of the people's liking. Let there be variety. Why should you force people who are wheat eater to eat rice and those who are rice eater to force them? And give them hot, sumptuous meal, balanced diet using seasonal fruits, seasonal vegetables, and that this kind of a designing, redesigning. And Tamil Nadu was already doing. So there were so many best practices happening in the country. And we said, why can't we generalize it? Why can't we make it an umbrella scheme, decentralization of food distribution? And local community will also get employment. Women will get employment. So that kind of impact evaluation studies were helpful. And also assessing the outcome wherever we have seen that funds are utilized, and especially Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, all of us are paying 2% professional tax at source. And luckily for India, we are not cribbing. Nobody is cribbing that 2% of salary is taken away from its source. It is for a good cause of making the population educated. And we have seen the outcome. The Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is not only talking of waiving the fee, it also has a provision for uniform. It has provision for midday meal. It has provision for non-plan grant, which is a better infrastructure in the government schools. So you have a playground and you have a nicely clean rooms and you have all the equipments which are there even in the private schools. So budget is there. If your constituency or sends the proposal for new benches, painting in the schools, a nice coach, nice sports complex in your school, or even the uniforms for children, shoes for children, everything is included in Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. We have seen not only enrollment rate, but even retention rate in the school has increased. And so many various research methodologies were used. You know about the Abhijit Banerjee. He got Nobel Prize. He and his wife, Professor Duflo, they did a study for Rajasthan government. And they said that why the Rajasthan government was reporting such a low literacy rate and the retention rate in school. And what did they do? They used the random sample method of research. There were schools which were in the experimental group. In experimental group, each teacher was given a mobile. There were the biometric were installed in the classrooms. And when the teacher entered, teacher had to do biometric. And every day teacher had to give like a real time. They had to report to the district magistrate how many children are in the class. And there was the group which was a closed group. There no such interventions were made. And they could see, because World Bank report had showed that in Indian government schools, there was a 15% attendance of teachers in the school. They came to school only to collect their salary. It was a very massive study World Bank had done. And after this random control trial, the ratio became reverse. 85% attendance of school in the school by the teachers, and once teachers comes, students also feel motivated. Earlier, what teacher would give to some local youth, they would give 2,000-3,000 rupees, and you know that government sector salaries are much higher. And they would not teach. So this kind of monitoring is also done, whether the budgets are. Person like Aruna Roy, when she saw that in the villages, none of the village development fund for water, for digging well, for road, for school, for library, for crematoria, for Google gas plant, just nothing. The budgets were there, but there was no, the due to corruption and leakage, the money which was meant for the developmental needs was used by the elected representative. What did she do? And she asked the villagers that do they get potable water? Is there a school in the village? Is the government bus coming to your village? And the villagers, they said that nothing. But then she compared it with the budget, which was the proposal that was sent. And where did this money go? And then she took pictures of the sarpanch who was earlier in a mud house. Now they have a big bungalow. They have 2-3 automobile, 4-wheelers. And she showed these films in the Parliament of India because she's the ex-IAS officer. And they also created a major campaign called Right to Information, that every citizen has a right to ask, oh, what are you doing with our money? So that is assessing the outcome is also very important. It can be done by the state, it can be done by the ministry, it can be done by the NGOs and civil society organization. In a city like Bangalore, there are think tanks which are giving report card for various budgets, transport budget, water budget, sanitation budget, electricity budget, slum development budget. They give the report card to the different wards. Now, the impact of the budget is in terms of 4 aspects. One is a protective and welfare schemes, so pension for widow. There is a lot of criticism because some states are giving 800, some states are giving 2,000, some states are giving in Mathura and Vrindavan and all, they give 2 pairs of saris and 3 times prasad, and these women have to sing bhajan and they have to clean the temple area, clean. How the different states are designing pension for widow, that is a very different issue that I'll come to that also. And what we need is that now we have a COVID widows, thousands of them in one particular district of Maharashtra. We have 5,000, more than 5,000 COVID widows. Okay, so you can imagine the enormity of the problem. So instead of just doling out this money, why can't we redesign the pension scheme, make it more like the counseling for them, drop-in center, creating their own community where they can share each other's experiences, and also how can they become self-dependent? No, that is a very important, and we did it. It's not that India is doing it during the time of partition. All the abandoned women, Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim women, they were being looked after by the state because of the initiative of 3 women who were managing refugee camps. And they had suggested to Prime Minister to start Central Social Welfare Board so that these women could rebuild their lives. So all those nagars in Delhi city, they were refugee camps, and how now you can see how, and you may have seen the serial Bunyad. There also they have portrayed how the refugees they rebuild their life and how men and women. Now, second one is that of a budget for homes for rehabilitation and rehabilitation center for women survivors of violence. So, Swadhar scheme. Initially, the design it was written that only those who own building or those who were eligible to get funds to run the Swadhar home, and those who had land, the people, individual or group who had land, they could apply for Swadhar homes fund, and government would give them construction costs. But it so happened that the genuine people neither had building nor they had land. But the Kotewalis and the procurers and pimps and those who were running brothels, they had land and they had homes. They were the people who managed to get Swadhar funds. It became a big scandal in several states. Finally, they changed when Dr. Saida Hamid was a planning commission member. She opened a window. This is called window to civil society, where how these budgets were used in reality, and that sharing started happening, where the people's voices started reaching planning commission. Second was UNDP started solution exchange. So you pose a problem in your area, and then you put your mind together. All those who are in that e-group or a Google group, they also suggest the solution or share their experience of how they dealt with the challenge. So that is there. Second type of schemes that we have in budget book, that is a social service scheme. That means budgetary provision for education. So you have a Kasturba Gandhi Yojana for the girls. You have Ashram Shala fund for Ashram Shalas in tribal areas. You have for the extremely bright children from underserved communities. You have a special schools with intensive education which is given to them. Then when it comes to health, the question of a child health, reproductive health, elderly geriatric health, and how the running of primary health centers, health posts, civil hospitals, in that also, what are the gender concerns that they are taken up? If you see the overall gender budget, there was a time where 85% of budget was going for reproductive and child health, because population stabilization was a major concern of the of whichever government we had. But now it has reduced to around 60% because in nearly 20 states in India have already reached population stabilization. Women are producing on an average less than 2 children. There are only now 300 blocks where targeted intervention is made, where there are TFR, total fertility rate is 3 children per woman. So only that. So now that budget is going down. Crash for working mothers, there is a fund. In fact, Forum for Crash and Childcare is a national level organization of trade unions, working women, women's studies centers, researchers, and the NGOs. And they fought for this scheme, Rajiv Gandhi Crash scheme, but not many proposals are coming. So now crash people just think that the private sector will take care of the childcare. No, that is the kind of mindset that is. So there is a lethargy so far as the sending of proposals to have a government runs crashes. No, so I think we need to create more consciousness, because there was a time where we used to have Indian Railways at crash at all the local railways, several suburban stations like Dadar or Thane and these, or we had a government run crashes in the city of Delhi and Mumbai, and the crash scheme was quite popular in the 80s and 90s. Currently, we don't have, and it has also strong link with lower work participation of women. Childcare is a major reason for which, just last week you heard that the moment they said that work from home is going to be given up by the corporates, there were mass resignations of women. You must have read in last week's newspapers that women are just quitting because they have small young women. They have small babies to look after, and now one more problem is also added. Life expectancy has gone up. Our population pyramid is top heavy, narrow at the bottom, because less number of young people are there. More people, there are families in which you have 4 generations of people. So you are not only mother-in-law and father-in-law, you have a great-grandmother-in-law and father-in-law to be looked after. And that's why, unless we take the care economy seriously, paid care economy is respected and valued and paid adequately, and some rules and regulations are also established, it's very difficult for women to enter into the work. Highly qualified, 40% of women MBAs in our country, they are not in work. They have given up their career, mainly either due to marriage or maternity or elderly care. So social services are very important. There are places in districts where you don't get fodder, like whole of Kutch. They depend on the government supply of fodder, water, housing, sanitation, nutrition, midday meal for lactating mothers in ICDS centers. These are the social services. Third one is the regulatory services, where you have a state commission for women, women's cell within the police stations, women's cell within the government departments, municipal corporations, everywhere. So these are the regulatory services for which also you need budget. If you have to institute ICC or ensure intervene in the case of gender-based violence, you need budgetary allocation. If you want to see to it that your Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act doesn't just remain on paper, you have to provide 5 service providers, as per the Act: hospital, shelter home, counselor, protection officer, and childcare. Because if so many times women are thrown out along with the children, so even children's home and parent. So even for regulatory services, we need a fund, and that you have to send the proposals to the. These are they are called centrally sponsored scheme. That means part of money comes from state union government. State has to give matching grant. So many states are reluctant to give matching grant, and that's why they are not paying. But when there is a pressure from the citizens organization, for example, child rights organization in Tamil Nadu, they pressurize the government that what we need is a child audit of budget. How much state is spending on children's welfare or children's social service or children's protection service or regulatory service, when so much of trafficking of children is happening? What is the state doing? So this is an awareness generation about, because we have so many state-specific 40, 50, each state has a 40, 50 such schemes and programs, but so many times people don't know about it. So through your website, through your leaflet, through your hoarding, you have to make all these schemes known to the people. So awareness generation through FM radio, through electronic media, through print media is also very important. And that's why you also see periodically one-page advertisement, half-page advertisement about various schemes that the government has. Now, so when it comes to the history of gender budgeting, we see that Australia was the first country way back in 1984 started doing it because of the pressure of the students movement and youth movement. Because in the westernized countries, in the Western countries, children are told to be economically independent at the age of 15. And women find it, the 15-year-old girl would find it very, very difficult because so many times she would have to give up her studies and take up a job. And then because definition of labor force is 15 to 59. So at the age of 15, you are allowed to do paid work. But those who, if you are not in your family, so many times you get cheated, you may be seduced, you may be this thing, and teenage pregnancy became a very major challenge for young women. And they demanded from the state that how much was the country allocating for needs of young women and girls. And that's how the gender budgeting Australian government agreed. And then other nation states also got an idea that we can ask our own governments. So South Africa, when it toppled the apartheid regime and Dr. Nelson Mandela became president, African National Congress, the women's wing of African National Congress, also demanded gender budgeting. The ANC did not have, most of the leaders had no experience in budget. So the NGOs, they worked with the NGOs and NGOs helped them to come up with the gender budget. The Commonwealth initiative also began by 1997, and we saw increasing number of Commonwealth countries doing gender budgeting. When the European Union was formed and 40% reserved seats were given to women parliamentarians, they also started demanding that that gender budgeting is required, because we are representing the constituency of women. And many countries like Canada, the UK and European countries also started doing this. So now, currently, if we see, there are 84 countries doing gender budgeting. Routes may be different. Like in, say, country like Bangladesh, right from 1971, we have seen that it is the people's organization who have played a very important role in budget making, because they are the ones who are, the NGO sector is extremely powerful in Bangladesh. So they are the ones who are at the forefront of gender budgeting. In India, it is the finance ministry which takes the initiative that presents the budget also, and the separate listing on gender budgeting is also given by that. There are countries where there is a civil war or ethnic tension, where both the civilians are killing each other. Then it is the UN peacekeeping force that implement gender budgeting. In places like Bosnia, where the civil war were going on, it was the army which was trained in gender budgeting, so that they could see to it that the bomb has not destroyed school completely. If it had destroyed, then it had to be reconstructed. What are the safe places for children? If the hospital, there was a bombing on hospital, how to transfer the patient and create an alternate space. All these things army men were taught. Now, so strategy for gender budgeting: one, we have to provide rationale, argument, data for increasing budgetary allocation for the items which are extremely important. There was a time when there was no budget for elderly people. Now you have so many elderly people's organized, senior citizens organization. They also do the budget audit, and they demand, we want Nana Nani Park. We want the implementation of 2010 Act for senior citizens protection. We want a special helpline dedicated to senior citizens, because lonely senior citizens. So that those kind of demands are also increasing. Improving the quality of resources, the inputs, for example, the kind of the people who make budget, they are the civil servants, the finance department of various ministries or departments or mantralaya or in a municipal corporation. So making them aware of the important, like you may have a very good budget, like for education. In Madhya Pradesh, that was the problem, but still the girls were not going to school. And then we discussed the case study of Mandesh Mahila Sarkari Sangatna by Chetna Gala, where after giving school bicycle to the girls and making them go to school together in a group to the school, they felt secure and their enrollment increased. And the bureaucrats, their IAS officers, as well as the budget maker, they said, yeah, we can do it easily. That much money we have. But main problem in Madhya Pradesh in those areas was there's no pakka road. That means you have to coordinate with PWD and see to it that those villages are connected with there is a connectivity between school and those villages, and see to it that state transport also goes there, and also free passes for the children to go to school. If you come up with that kind of, so Maharashtra government also has that policy in the rural areas. You just show your pass, your identity card, and you are allowed to go free. There was one MP, a member of parliament in Aurangabad, in Aurangabad district, he had come up with the Ambezo guy. He had used his member of parliament area development fund, which every member gets 5 crore rupees. And there was a great demand that because girls were dropping out of the education institute after 12th standard, because there were no colleges nearby. Around 40-50 villages were there, but there was no college, and he used his money to come up with a college. Now, college had a zero enrollment because all these villages did not have any connectivity. No state transport was, there was no bus stop in their village. First of all, there were no pakka road. Now, the sarpanch and the elected representatives of all these villages came together and they demanded from the government that please, from the PWD budget, you give this connectivity as a priority, road connection as a priority. And politicians did not listen. So what they did, they boycotted election. And when the election analysis was being done, they realized that this particular pocket, nobody has voted. And then all these politicians approached the villagers and they said that, look, this is our long-standing demand to get a cemented road, which you have not done, and our girls have to drop out of after 12th standard. And immediately in 6 months' time, road was connected and the college premises, they were being used, and they had it started working in a full capacity in a 2-3 years' time. So this also, when people get organized, they demand. And recently you saw so many new schemes which the government of Rajasthan has come up with. They have increased the employment guarantee scheme 125 days. They have also come up with the social security for the people who are the senior citizens, and they have also come up with several other anti-poverty programs. It is mainly because of the 40 years of continuous advocacy done by the rural and tribal and organizations under the leadership of Mazdoor Kisan Sangram Samiti, Aruna Roy and Nikhil Dey. So redistribution of budget allocation is also very important. If we think that certain ministries are using the funds, they are just not using the funds, and plus those kind of demands have become redundant. Like if you have, say, the moment you had a mobile, everyone has a mobile, the demand for telephone exchange goes down, no? The telephone landline goes down. So you may reduce your funds for that kind of a teleconnectivity because people are using mobile. Changing the type and quality of goods and services delivered by government, and also changing the policy, which results in changing the policy. So this is the kind of flow chart. You can say that it was in 1975 when United Nations declared International Women's Day, the global call for gender equality came. Most of the countries, they also 165 countries, they started, they appointed status of women's committee. They came up with a report. In India, the report came out 1 year earlier in 1974, Towards Equality report, which was debated in the parliament. And as a result of this kind of awareness, local initiatives started happening, and gender budgeting became a popular during the late 80s. And what we saw that the first task was for all the government was to start a massive gender sensitivity training and also livelihood support. So we created mission for addressing the question of poverty groups and the groups which were facing intersectional marginalities. We created a mission mode. That means a national mission for livelihood, state mission for livelihood, district mission for livelihood. So on a missionary mode, you have you have to, in certain time bound phase, you have to see to it that people have food security, people have the basic infrastructure, social infrastructure, health services, educational services. And once that happens, what you see is a gender empowerment, broaden the potential of social capacity, people's capacity increase. We saw in Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, where the moment they introduced conditional cash transfer to deal with the child labor, that if you don't if you send your child to school, that particular day's wages would be directly deposited in child's account. And they got a marvelous result because parents started sending their children to school. And also greater people's participation. Gender budgeting, any kind of social sector budgeting wants aware citizens, they wants proactive citizens. So what we saw, the whole history that I told you, that how, as our sensitivity to gender questions, women's questions, first there was a term, only after 85 we started using gender. Earlier we used to use the women in development. So towards equality report resulted in Planning Commission coming up with a special chapter, separate chapter, and paradigm shift took place. Women who were into rubric of welfare, they are brought into the rubric of women in development, because women are making great contribution in terms of paid and unpaid work. United Nations data which said that women constitute of 1/2 of world's population. They do 2/3 of world's work. What they get in return is 1/10 of world's income, and they own only 1% of world's wealth. That itself shows where are they in the pyramid of economy. And that's why sixth five-year plan accepted the affirmative action, approach of affirmative action, and defined development. Development indicators of development were human development indicators, education, health, employment. The Shram Shakti report, when Elaben Bhatt became, she was appointed as a Rajya Sabha member, she took up on this mammoth task of contribution that Indian women workforce, Shram Shakti, women workforce was making in the Indian economy. Both 92% of them are in informal sector, and this was a major work. Both qualitative and quantitative methodologies were used. National Perspective Plan for Women also was prepared in 1988, and eighth five-year plan also accepted that benefits of development from different sectors should not bypass women. Special programs on women should complement the general development program. That means even if you have anti-poverty programs, which are there for everybody, all people, you should also have a targeted fund. In all anti-poverty programs, minimum 30% funds should be this thing. Now the word beneficiary is abhorred because all of us are beneficiary. Why don't we say when it is upper class or middle class person as beneficiary? Why do we call only poverty groups as beneficiaries? So it is replaced with a stakeholder. So all stakeholders should get their piece of pie in the development of the country. Ninth five-year plan also talked about the women component plan, that in every program, development-oriented budget, 30% should be allocated. 30% this thing recipient should be women. 10th and 11th and 12th plan, they talked about convergence of women component plan and gender responsive budgeting. And now even Niti Aayog is going with the same line of thinking. Empowers you to come up with the demand for policymakers and elected representatives. It also ensures greater transparency. It deepens the democracy. Whatever formal democracy we have, it is deepened by actual measures that you take by addressing practical gender needs. Nal, Bajli, Pani, Rasta. That means where everyone is happy. Men are not even angry when you get a bus, or when you get a garden, or when you get a community hall. But strategic gender needs, which at one stroke of pen changes the power equation. So you can say 33% reservation for women in local self-government was a strategic gender need, because with one stroke of pen, you got 1 million Indian women in the public life. Or similarly, you can say reservation of women in engineering colleges, which in the government of Maharashtra passed that resolution in 1991. There was tremendous opposition because all these students from engineering, they were so angry that girls with lesser percentage were getting admission in engineering college. There was tremendous resistance, and we had to really counsel the students that first time women are getting admission, this kind of support from the state. We don't even encourage our daughters to opt for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They are not never encouraged. So historical injustices have been compensated by the affirmative action. So that is the mission, that is the aim of gender budgeting. We call man as a breadwinner, but women are overburdened with so many low literacy, lower wages, unpaid care work, high mortality, gender-based violence, lack of opportunities to assert themselves, lack of representation, lack of voice. And I think this asymmetry and this gap we want to bridge. That means 5 gaps are critical to gender budgeting. One is economic participation. Why work participation of women on this particular date is 19% of the workforce. At one level, UGC is boasting about churning out millions of young university-educated girls, not only BA, BCom. Now you see the latest iShare report, which shows that except for chartered accountant and I think MTech, everywhere girls are getting degree. Why these degrees don't translate into career? So economic participation, what are the hurdles? Economic opportunity, what kind of opportunities we boasted in 2000, we had 40% work participation and service sector participation into, but what was the service sector? It was domestic work, elderly care. So what is it a sign of hope, or it is a sign of helplessness? Okay, so that also what kind of opportunity you get, where are the doors are closed when it comes to lucrative, prestigious job. Even in the IT sector, Sujata Kotoskar uses the term, she calls them cyber coolie. Why women are not allowed to more? Even in the corporate world, why there is a glass ceiling or glass cliff, or they are not allowed to come up. So in terms of opportunity, there is a massive discrimination that takes place. Political empowerment. In Panchayati Raj, we have 50% in 20 states, which is Panchayati Raj work is that of extension of housework. What women are doing for their home, they are doing for their constituency. But why aren't we allowing our women to be in the state assembly or the parliament? And why only 2 states? I think Madam Mamata Banerjee and Odisha, I think these are the 2 states, and Akali Dal has at least promised that they would give women reservation. But in operation, you don't see it. Not only that, even when it comes to giving candidature, the women who have given their whole life for their party, they are bypassed when it comes to giving them candidature. So political empowerment, representation and voice, both. Educational attainment, there are so many streams in which you see privatization is preventing girls to enter. Parents would borrow, they would pay heavy interest and send their boys in the professional college, which would not happen in case of women. So state has to provide subsidized education, professional education, so that the more and more women can be professionally competent. And health and well-being. India has a record of extremely high maternal mortality, child mortality rate. Currently, the major controversy, and poor James, director of IIPS, the difference, the NFHS 5 data, which showed that there is a 60% of Indian women have anemia, and the Ministry of Health is not happy with this data. Okay, so the health and well-being are extremely important. Ministry wants the anemia to be taken out of NFHS questionnaire. So that means we will not have data about anemia. Anemia is major killer of Indian women. Because woman, if she has any health hazard, there are more chances for her to die. Even the pregnancy, anemic woman's pregnant anemic woman has a more chances to die, or even give it stillbirth babies. So these are historical neglect, institutionalized hegemony, patriarchal hegemony, gap between formal equality and substantive equality needs to be bridged by gender responsive budgeting. So purpose of gender budgeting exercise is that whatever proclamations are there in constitution and women empowerment policy, they need to be executed through financial support. So financial this thing allocation are very important. And this is the cycle of budget. So our entry point comes from the poverty alleviation. Good governance is very important to stop leakage and corruption and nepotism. Accountability about the public funds, transparency, how you are spending your money, how you are earning, generating revenue for your money, both are very important. Economic efficiency is enhanced when things are gender budget is executed judiciously, and it creates the equity. Equity is very important, creating the support system, creating the ecosystem which ensures equality. So you may have equality on in the constitution, but if the poor girl in the village can't go to school because there is she can't afford to pay fees, or there is no bus coming, then these are the measures of equity. Scholarship becomes a measure of equity. Hostel becomes a measure of equity, or providing a efficient transport from home to school or the village to school becomes a measure of equity. Then the dream of equality can be realized. So actors in gender budgeting, all of us are actors as a citizen, as an elected representatives, as a bureaucrat, as an educationist, as a media people. Media can shape. We have seen the how media has shaped legal reforms. They have shaped also the public policies. Gender budgeting is also a public policy, and they can invite the attention. They can act as a bridge between the community, their needs, aspirations, demands. They can be taken to the government, and it's a two-way process, can be ensured by the media. We have also seen in our record, because from 2005 to 2023, wherever the budgetary allocations for women's program is very good, like whether it is about the certain states, like at a subnational level, if the for say women enterprise or education, or the Kerala's budget, if we see, Kerala is #1 in human development indicators, where the maternal mortality is comparable to that of Europe and America, only 12. Because the one thing Kerala gives top priority, 40% of state budget directly goes to social sector. That means clean drinking water, sanitation, subsidized education, subsidized transport, universalization of PDS. If you are rich and if you don't want to take your ration, that's your choice. But the state is ready to give you ration. That means so when you have this kind of empowerment takes place, when there is budgetary cuts, then it also reduces the opportunity that we have seen. We saw even during the pandemic, the private sector was completely insensitive to the human miseries that were happening. They all closed their nursing homes. They jumped in only when the vaccination program started, because per vaccine you were getting 800 rupees. Some of them were even charging 2,000, 3,000 rupees. So this what's happened, and that's why you saw massive gap in a vaccination. Gender gap was very high, and then some of the local self-government, they addressed this by organizing special community-based camps. Where in the camp, these women were, and these camps were suitable to the timing of women, and then their vaccination took place. So some states played a very important, very proactive role. Structural adjustment program, globalization, they have increased women's unpaid work burden, and women provided subsidy, because globalization is riding on women's back, the poor and the colored women's back. So devaluation, price rise, erosion of PDS, agrarian crisis, unemployment, all of them enhance women's hardship. And we experienced that even during the pandemic. So if we see the history of planning from first 5-year plan to the latest first 5-year plan, the budgetary allocation for women's question, there was no word called gender budgeting, but Central Social Welfare Board was given 4 crore rupees. And what now we see in the current 2020-23 budget, more than 74,000 crore is allocated, because the sensitivity to that is increased. There was a time where we used to only dream about the gender budgeting, but now, and also critique it after the budget was presented in the parliament or state assembly or municipal corporation. Now gender budget, the people are invited. Those who are aware of this issue, they are invited in the pre-budget discussions, where you do the review of public expenditure profile. Okay. Then second one is conducting the beneficiary incidence analysis, that who benefited from this particular scheme. Can we redesign the scheme? Can we enhance the scope of the scheme? Can we decentralize the scheme that is there? Recommending changes in the operational guidelines, that who is eligible to get the fund, who is eligible to send the proposals, and are NGOs allowed, are cooperative societies allowed, are citizens organizations allowed, is registration compulsory for being eligible for the proposal. So these guidelines become very important, and they are different for different social reality. That also we need to understand. And there are, whenever you see any budget book, as you all are journalists, you all are in public life, and even as academician, you will be invited by the government to facilitate this kind of a capacity building program. Anytime, any budget, your budget of your cooperative society, budget of your NGO, budget of your union, budget of your constituency, or budget of your government, state government, central government, you have to see that which are the schemes which are 100% for women specific program, Ministry of Women and Child Development program, which are the pro-women scheme, that okay, it is a gender neutral scheme, it's a neutral scheme. MG Narega is neutral scheme. But so many women benefit. Before pandemic, even so many states had reported two-thirds of the beneficiary, I would call stakeholder, were women, because MG Narega rates are less than state minimum wage. So state minimum, so mostly men would not go. It would be mainly women-headed household and extremely poor families who would apply, who would stand in the queue for MG Narega, which now changed after the pandemic. It changed. There is massive unemployment. So gender neutral scheme meant for benefit of community as a whole. Integrated development program, Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojana, or integrated child development program, or they are meant for the whole men, women. This thing, ICDS, it is for lactating mothers and pregnant women and also children. In that also, you have to see that what is the percentage of those who are getting benefits of this schemes, even in gender neutral scheme. And fourth one is a residual scheme. That means you have a leftover fund. This in 2005, we had a deluge in Mumbai. After that, Bombay Municipal Corporation would always allocate some funds for deluge. That suppose there is a massive rains and Mumbaikars are stuck, we have to do rescue operation. So but it did not happen. That kind of deluge we did not experience later on. So what would you do? That fund is there, disaster management fund. All the states which were affected by tsunami, they started keeping fund for tsunami. If again tsunami waves do the destruction, what do we do? But suppose after so many years, it did not happen. For cyclone, for drought, for earthquake, you keep residual, you keep a fund. But it is not utilized because such hazards did not take place. So what do? You can also, if you are conscious as a bureaucrat, if you are conscious as a journalist, if you are conscious as a citizen, you can also suggest why can't we use this fund for empowerment of women. But let us take an example of BEST in Mumbai. BEST started collecting cess of 5 paise per ticket at the time of Bangladesh war in 1971. Bangladesh war got over. But still, now also, if you see BEST bus ticket, it would be 6 rupees ticket and it will show 5 rupees 95 paise plus 5. If it is a 5 rupee ticket, they would show 4.95 paise plus 5. What are these 5? 5 is a cess. And imagine cess from 1971 to 2003 of lakhs and lakhs, millions of commuters every day, I would say. Yeah, because BMC is a very big network. Now, and this fund, women's organization approached the BEST management that why can't they use this fund for empowerment of girls, or coming up with a short videos which are shown in the bus about gender sensitization, or promotion of education, or the conditional cash transfer scheme which government has created for a single child parents, or sex selective abortion as a crime. All these things they can do. And they can also institute scholarship for their bus drivers' children, bus conductors' children, and also with special focus on women. So this kind of idea, if you give, they do. We have seen example of Commissioner Radha, who was in the finance commissioner of BMC. She invited the PowerPoint presentation from women's organization. And they said that, look, the finance, we have a surplus fund. In the BMC, we have 34 buildings constructed with all the facilities with the World Bank money for schools and hospitals. But in that area, we are not getting students because there are so many other facilities available and children are going to private schools. Can you suggest what all can we have? And in the PowerPoint presentation, we suggested that what we need a shelter home, we need multi-purpose activity center where more than one projects can be handled. There was an example of YWCA in Andheri, which had 11 projects in one building called Asha Kiran. We shared that experience with Madam Raza, and she says, yes, done. And then she took all of us in a bus to visit all those 34 properties from Kolaba to Virar, which were the places, huge hospitals, huge school building. And then the idea of multi-purpose activities center, Savitribai Phule Nari Aadhar Kendra, Stri Aadhar Kendra in Lower Parel, or similarly support system to create for making all the SHGs and the tribal products to be sold in Parla East. They gave that facility, and All India Institute of Local Government started doing that. The same thing in Pune. It was a collector of Pune who said that, okay, all the SHGs, their products, they have a problem of market. So I will give them special building, which was where they can come. We won't charge them any rent, and they can come and sell their product directly to the customers. And then later on, the Pune Municipal Corporation also came up with a special building in Dakkan Gymkhana area where SHG's products can be sold. And we had an example of Seva Hut in Ahmedabad. Later on, several state governments also came up with the Delhi Hut in Delhi, or in Kutch, it was the diamond merchants who came together, and they created similar hut where all the artisans, they have not to starve. They don't have to live in penury, and they can also, whatever work they can do, they can get, they can sell it directly to the customers. So these ideas, when we give the bureaucrats, and we put our minds together, we come up with a very good alternative. Now there are some of the extremely powerful schemes which also determine the election results for the ruling party or the opposition. Indira Awas Yojana, very important. Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Yojana, scholarship for minority, MG Narega. These are the flagship program. But still, we are not getting the data whether 1/3 of the beneficiaries are women or not. That data still we don't get it. So I think there is a demand for that. There are unresolved issues in gender budgeting. One is a widow's pension, major bone of contention. How do you empower widow? Just by giving them 2,000, 3,000 rupees, 800 rupees, are you going to solve the problem? No. They are the most powerless. Widows in Indian community are the most powerless women, and giving cash in the hand of powerless, that means their relatives or the greedy relatives or antisocial elements would take it. You need to redesign the widow's pension scheme, which is more of a capacity building, creation of a community empowerment, and also the career opportunities. Number 2, women-friendly transport. After Nirbhaya tragedy, the attention was invited for more safe and affordable transport for women in Tier 2, Tier 3, and peri-urban cities. Currently, only 5-6 cities have that kind of opportunity, like Mumbai or Chennai or Kolkata, Delhi Metro. Now you can see they have made it free for women. Also now Karnataka has also made the transport free for them. Andhra Pradesh has also made this thing that state transport, anywhere a woman wants to stop, the bus conductor has to stop it, even if it is not a bus stop. So some states are responding, but still we need a large-scale campaign for affordable women-friendly transport in the 300 smart city, which are earmarked by the government, because smart city is not only CCTV camera and flyovers and bridges, but smart city has to make the life. Human development investment is very important. Housing for women, it is a long-standing demand, and especially both the public and private sector, and public sector can provide an example of best practices, and there is a demand for Akhila Bharatiya Ekal Nari Sangatna, All India Single Women's Association, that 10% of housing in all housing projects should be allocated to women-headed households. That means households where widow, separated, divorced, women facing long-term migration, and single unmarried women who are shouldering major responsibility of the household. Financial inclusion of bank is a third demand, because you know how the microfinance institutions are charging from poor women 32%, 48%, 24% rate of interest. And there was this time back in India, even when we had a 3.5% rate of growth, we had a differential rate of interest during 80s. So many state governments had come up with the schemes for women entrepreneurs or the poor women's associations and cooperatives to charge 4% rate of interest. Currently, it's not happening, and we need to again remind the politicians about that. No clarity on women's component in allocation for education, water, health, sanitation, public toilets, housing, insurance, skill development mission. These are the major, extremely finance-rich schemes there, with a budget of 1,500 crore and 3,000 crore and 8,000 crore budgets, no? And in the how the money is being spent, that we need the data about that. National Rural Health Mission and ICDS workers, they are directly employed by the state. Asha workers, Anganwadi workers, they have been applauded even by the WHO for being the best corona warriors throughout the world. They were the best as compared to the corona warriors, which 201 countries affected by corona. Their performance was applauded, but still they are underpaid. They are not even treated as workers. They are not getting state minimum wages. They are also given honorarium even for working, and so many times, like if they have to manage all the emergencies. They are the first contact for a rural woman or the poor woman when it comes to their health needs or any other survival needs. And that has been raised by gender economists. Even in each year, when the delegation of gender economists meets the finance minister, they raise this. Absence of women-friendly approach in the new missions, which are heavily, there is a massive pumping in of government funds in the Skill India, Startup India, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana, Garib Kalyan Yojana. Nowhere you see there is a gender perspective. Even the drafting, the language of these schemes also doesn't, it presumes that women are just not there. Now the word gender blind is gone. The disability movement has opposed this word. So please don't use it, call it gender absent. So this all gender absent approach that has been questioned. Financial support to women entrepreneurs. In our country, we have only 8% of entrepreneurs are women, and their capacity to invest in their enterprise is between 50,000 to 2 lakhs. And how do they raise money? Either they sell gold, their gold, personal, whatever they have. They borrow money from husband or neighbors or friends, and this is how they start enterprise. None of the banks consider them credit worthy. So I think we need to change the mindset of the bankers also about support. And in fact, most of the studies have shown that women entrepreneurs and women SHGs, they are more judicious and more ethical in repayment of whatever the installments that they have to pay to the bank. Supportive schemes for transgender people. Now, transgender community has come up with demanding gender responsive budgeting in the area of education, shelter. So now government has come up with the Garima Gru scheme, but the unit cost is very less. With that Garima Gru, you can't even give them 2 square meals, their education, their health needs, and also elderly transgender people, they also need their pension. And total misconception, even among the medical fraternity and community in general, masses in general, and bureaucracy in general, about their biological needs. That means even during the pandemic, menstruation pads were not distributed among transgender. They were not eligible. When a transgender woman becomes pregnant, doctors are not even ready to take up. Government hospitals refuse to even take up. They have to do botched abortion, which is so life-threatening. So I think more awareness as well as action are required so far as the specific needs of transgender community are required. There are some good records that we have had. One is a conditional maternity benefit scheme to provide cash directly to pregnant and lactating mothers. We have been able to reduce our maternal mortality rate from 480 to 220. Still, we have a long way to go. National Mission for Empowerment of Women. Some state governments have also started State Mission for Empowerment of Women. Then we have a scheme for leadership development for minority women under the Ministry of Minority Affairs, because initially the first few years after the establishment of Ministry of Minority Affairs in 2007, there was nothing about women, but then the women's organization invited their attention. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme has a massive funding, but I think the question, as you have seen the impact analysis, most of the fund is used only for advertisement, but not actual developmental investment. So that is a criticism of such a flagship program, that it's mainly the taking selfie campaign for that, or big advertisements in the newspapers about Beti Bachao. But how are we going to create more enabling environment for Betis in terms of scholarship, education, hostels, and awareness is one part of it, but only focusing on awareness and leaving aside all other things have been critical. Crash scheme for working parents, it's not only for women, but even a working father should be entitled to have crash scheme, and the scheme the money has to be utilized, and more publicity needs to be done so that we have a state supported crash scheme. Not only you depend on a private sector. I have some friends of mine in Mumbai city, even in the far away suburbs, they have to pay 18,000 per child, even when the food is given by the mother, by the parents, they have to pay 18,000. So if these are the kind of rates for child care for 8 hours, then how can any person, poor person, can be this? And how can ordinary, even middle class, or the missing middle, lower middle class, or struggling middle class, how can they afford this kind of private crash charges? A rehabilitation of trafficked women and children, in that also we have seen massive, extremely disheartening and heartbreaking reports of how these the shelter homes are run. TISS study is an eye-opener because there is an iron wall of secrecy. So more transparency about the functioning of this thing, and also more the allocation for their education, for their clothing, for their medical checkup, and for their food. Food budget also needs to be increased for the shelter homes. Nirbhaya Fund for girls and women, the most deplorable and disheartening record of non-utilization right from 2013 till now. And I think for that, the political lethargy, political will is lacking. And I think we need to build the campaign through constant monitoring of Nirbhaya Fund at a state level, because it is a centrally sponsored scheme, and different states are given their the support by the union government, and they also have to come up with their matching grant. Recently, Bombay Municipal Corporation in the new budget did a very good job of buying more vehicles for the police managing 191 helpline, so that it is not only that they get distress call, but immediately they can attend the distress call by going to either senior citizen or person with disability, or women and children in distress. So in all the budgets of departments and ministries at a Panchayati Raj level, state level, and union level, there has to be recognition of centrality of women in all the budgets. That has been the demand. We as gender economists have demanded separate listing of women-specific budgets. You must have seen this year, 6 state governments gave separate listing: Karnataka, Telangana, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra 5, and I think Goa is also given. So separate listing is very important. No diversion of women component, which is 30% of the total of any of the flagship programs. Right to information, transparency about allocation and utilization. You have to make public know what is it, so that either through website or through public education advertisement. Inclusion of gender economists in the pre-budget workshops that should be held around October, so that you don't have to say that you are too late with your suggestions. So all these workshops, because budget making takes long time, because each department has to give the budget, their recommendation, they have to put in figure, get it as budget book has to be translated in the local language and English. So it takes time. So budget, the whole workshop, all the workshops start June, July onwards. So from June, July till the budget is prepared, I think there should be interaction with the gender economist and the civil society organization. There is a need for provision to composite programs for women and girls under education, health, rural development sectors to target them specifically at girls and women as a principal beneficiary. and also disaggregated within the total allocation. So whatever total budget you have, whether it is for education or food security or capacity building or hostel or this, you have to provide the disaggregated data that how many of them have been empowered through this intervention. And restriction on reappropriate. Most of the time, what happens if the money remains unutilized till October? The budget is now the budget is in February. Earlier it used to be in 1st of April. Okay, so from February to October, if the money remains unutilized, the ministry, there are certain ministries that are always ready to take the money. They said, okay, we will get the interior done, or we will buy some vehicles, or Ministry of Defense is always ready to buy some weapons and all. So this kind of reappropriation should not be allowed. Whatever is earmarked for gender, it should be used only for gender concerns. And Panchayati Raj budget was examined by UNDP and NIRD in a big way. What was the role that women elected representatives played? And after their report, we saw that so many state governments increased women's representation in local self-government bodies from 33% to 50% because they were able to respond to the practical gender needs of the community where there was no male resistance. Main problem that we face is even when the resources are there are funds are there which can function, which can earmark functions and functionaries. But you see that because so many MPs, MLAs, even the corporators, they would not assign, they would not give any proposal, or they would not give any advice to the administration for utilization of fund. So there is a lot of criticism that when there is so much demand of the community, how can you allow these funds to be unutilized? And that's why more awareness of the parliamentarians has also begun in this area. Both the National Commission for Women, State Commission for Women have to play a proactive role, because budget is a tool in the hands of the state to reduce the gap between rich and poor, between different marginalized communities, and also between the men and women, and throughout the gender spectrum, the needs can be addressed. In India, we have had a couple of excellent experiences. One is a bottom-up budget. Ahalya Bhatt, a retired statistician of Karnataka government, and Professor Devki Jain, they started sitting with the villagers, sitting with the community to decide the micro planning, that what are the needs, real needs and important needs of the community. And they would sit with them and they would come up with the checklist of the most important needs, and they would put in figure because at the market rate, and they would take this budget to the district commissioner and get the fund. So this bottom-up budget exercise has been accepted in several Asian countries. In Malaysia, I visited one place in Penang where the member of parliament, she sat with the community, and some rehabilitation program was executed through gender responsive budgeting. You can see that film also on YouTube. I'm also sharing the link with that. Another is a green budget. In Rajasthan, the waterman of Rajasthan, he used the government budget for reducing the desertification of certain districts, and also the sandstorms and the sand dunes that they were facing. So the green cover to create that. And we have seen in Mumbai city, where more than 40 NGOs and some 12,000 community-based organizations have come together under the umbrella of Right to Pee campaign, led by a young woman, Supriya Sonar. And they have also demanded, they have done the audit of toilets, public toilets of Mumbai city, where there are 2,300 public toilets for men in Bombay city, but there are less than say 112 toilets for women, which are also not cleaned. There are no doors. There are some in the toilet, there are stones. They are not usable. So this Right to Pee campaign, which they started, they have demanded more public utility, and the transgender community has also demanded separate public toilets for transgender community. They say that they are scared to use gents toilet because of their painful experience of sexual harassment and sexual advances and rape, which they have undergone through their life. And they would not use women's toilet, and they won't, because women will get scared and women would not even want a transgender person to come there. So Chhattisgarh is the one state which has accepted the demand and of separate public toilets for transgender community. Now, formation of gender budget cells. Currently, only 18 states are doing gender budget exercise. So we need to reach out to remaining states and also union territories to form the gender budget cell, induct gender economies, and also enhance the capacity building of budget maker. Budgets are not made by the principal secretary or IS officer. They are made by the finance department. They are made by the accountants, and we need to reach out to them, so that we need to take this message in a regional language. And some states have started in Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh and Bengal. Nirmala Banerjee was there in the state planning board. Kerala started it long back with always Kerala Planning Board had a one gender economist in the planning board. So now after the pandemic, there has been a new slogan that has come, that instead of talking about women in development, which was the slogan in 1975, now what we need is a women-led development, because 18 countries which were very, very humane in responding to Corona tragedy and the health emergency, they put people before profit. And they were very compassionate as political leaders. So they said that, and they executed gender budget very judiciously, and they also provided support, and they provided all the health facilities to the community. Another thing is that local and global implications of pro-poor budget, pro-women budget, alternate. How does this kind of budget creates an alternative macro scenario? I think that is the task with UN Women, UNDP. They are doing. They are coming out with the documentaries which shows that what was the condition before and now how it has changed after the enhancement in social sector budget. Serious examination of budget calls for greater transparency at the level of international economics. That means we have to reach out to World Bank and IMF, World Trade Organization, that please don't pressurize the poor countries to go for stabilization policy. Don't reduce the social sector budget in the name of economic crisis. There are organizations which are demanding the waiving of debt to African countries, Latin American countries, countries which are going through tremendously difficult time, hunger and disease, and this thing, Sri Lankan crisis. Also, there was a demand that they should be. The problems are created by the whole economic globalization, and how small countries are manipulated by the predatory financial sector. A need to pay special attention to budgets targeted for women, children, the elderly person with disability, transgender person. So gender responsive budgeting also includes that. It is not only women. There is a need to provide training and capacity building workshops for decision makers in government structures, local and global levels, parliamentarians, and also audiovisual media. It's very important, and that's why I commend and I congratulate Population First and UNFPA for organizing today's masterclass. These are some of the links of the short video films made by UN Women, where how the scenario changed after gender responsive budgeting was implemented. There are short films from the countries even poorer than us: Brazil, India, Timor-Leste, Indonesia, Morocco, Philippines, Malaysia. All these countries have been covered in this. And these are some of the references which are there in public domain. They can be easily downloaded. The first one by Professor Lahiri, Chakraborty, and Bhattacharya. That is the organization, National Institute of Public Finance and Policy Making, which makes the budget for our country. Kirti Nakri's work is also very good. There is she did her dissertation on gender responsive budgeting. UN Women has also website, a very active website, and where all the important documents on gender budgeting are discussed. Now, this is the painting by Anuja, the 8th standard boy of Kerala, who always was questioning in his mind that why do people say, he lost his mother at a very young age, and he always questioned that why do people say women don't do anything. And he, when there was international painting competition, his father is also painter. He came up with this painting. It got first prize globally in the international competition, and it became the cover page of gender budgeting, gender responsive budgeting by Kerala government in the year 2021 during the pandemic. So now I think we can see the film and then we can have discussion. Share screen.
Hi everyone. Apart from your questions, I request you to share your experience of
Is it
attending
visible
this
and
session.
audible? Hello?
Yeah,
Is
it is
it
visible, but audio is
visible?
not.
It's not audible?
No, ma'am.
Oh my God. What do I do?
No, I think at least for me, it is coming in a broken way.
Problem of bandwidth?
Ethel?
I think I think it would be better if you stop sharing the screen and share it again.
Okay, I'll do.
Around the world, the most marginal.
I request all of you to put your experience of listening to Miss Professor Vibhuti Patel. How was the workshop, and apart from your questions and other discussions.
Okay, now there is a now. Okay, I do sharing now. What do I do?
Is there an option if where there is a share screen button?
Yeah,
There's
that
an
I did.
arrow.
Huh?
Huh.
Yeah, 1 minute. Let me first get the film. Oh, this is very good. Equal.
There should be an option to share with audio.
Acha, okay, yeah. Where did it show this? Okay. Yeah, share with the audio. Why doesn't it show? Share with an audio. Where is it? Here in stop video and share with an audio. Where is it?
Yeah. When you click on share screen, there should be, is there an arrow beside it?
Yeah.
I think there should be an option. You can just try sharing it. I think it will
Yes,
share with
okay,
audio.
I'll do. So I should not minimize it, no?
No, I think you should just
Okay,
share
now
the
where is
screen
it?
like
Stop.
that.
Okay, now I do stop share video. Yeah, I can see the film also. Yes. Equal half.
Your screen is not being shared. Click
Share.
on share screen.
Okay, I have
Yeah,
to.
it's now. Yeah,
Now,
we can see your Google, Gmail.
okay, so I
thing.
need to. I have to click on that, no?
Huh.
Stop share. Oh, it was there. Oh my God. Equal half. Yeah, got it. Now, what do
Yeah,
I
we
do?
can see your screen.
Yeah, now what do I do?
Play the video. I think it should come.
Is it audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it is.
Around the world, the most marginalized women's voices are those that are not heard by the authorities when they're planning programs for social programs for their own populations.
Women's unpaid work at home, sustenance of the family, rearing of children, these are not recognized in metropolis.
As far as we are not giving importance to women and their living conditions, how a family or a society or a country can be brought up in a better way?
Women form half of India's population and make enormous contribution to its economy. Yet, we lag behind in almost all socio-economic indicators. Though there have been several government schemes and policies for the welfare of women, none of them have a measurable impact in terms of gender. Gender-responsive budgeting is an initiative to ensure that the entire budgeting process is carried out through a gender perspective in order to bring gender equality and women's empowerment.
Gender responsive budgeting is a very important tool that UN Women uses to work with government to ensure that planning takes into account the special needs of women. Around the world, UN Women since 2011 has worked with 65 different countries to incorporate gender responsive budgeting. Of the 65 countries, 25 of those countries have adopted gender-based policies and planning in their national development plans. We think it's important because it enables the country, the leaders of the country, to see how their allocations of public funds will contribute to gender equality and women's empowerment. I think one important point of our gender responsive budgeting, particularly in India, is that one hopes that it would create an consciousness among policies. We started with the production of the gender budget statement. We moved on to the gender budget sales and continuing with the budget, which is very important because after all, when we are saying that all the institutions gender responsive budgeting, some institutional mechanisms, some focal points, some sales within these ministries. You have to work on that. That's a good.
Wrong with the audio.
Sundarbans, a cluster of more than 100 islands situated in West Bengal, offers numerous problems to the women living here in terms of geographical challenges, health, livelihood, and all the basic amenities. All of these pushing them into debts and poverty.
The Department of Science and Technology has been implementing a scheme called Science and Technology for Women, and with a basic focus of providing technological input to women in the rural area. The Vivekananda Institute of Biotechnology in Sundarbans has been working for the people at grassroots level through relevant science and technology interventions. Along with the Ministry of Science and Technology's Seed Division, the Institute has been training local women in banana tissue culture. When we transfer technology to women, hand holding would be required, and absorption of technology may probably require a different technique. And hence, there is a need for special gender measures to be taken. In this case, what was conceptualized is a women technology park. The tissue culture experiment, which was done in Sundarbans, is a part of the women technology park set up at Sadar Island. The Women's Technology Park was a place for the rural women to gain inputs on technologies that help in upgrading their skills and enhancing their income. The women have learned a technique called tissue culture, which is a high-end technology. And these are the women who are not very scientifically qualified, but they have done it. The hardening is done by rural women who are absolutely uneducated, and they have taken it up. And they have also learned the business of selling these plants. So I think it's a win-win situation for all the groups, the rural women, the scientists who develop the technology, the women who are selling it, and also the farmers who are producing the bananas. Nagaland, a state where agriculture is a major economic mainstay, has over 50% women farmers. Despite this, they have little access to land and resources, are seldom seen as farmers, and do not benefit from any government schemes or subsidies. Atma, or Agricultural Management Technology Agency, is a GRB initiative to disseminate agricultural activities for sustainable agricultural development. Focus area of Atma is that it promotes gender mainstreaming in agriculture. 30% of the funds of this scheme have to go to women farmers. We have a lot of committees, decision-making bodies at the block level, at the district level, at the state level. The scheme provides for involvement of women in every such decision-making body. The outcome of Atma is already visible in the villages of Mukokchuk, where agricultural extension programs are happening in full swing, with women leading the way. Iba program aja pasang tangan apa sih? Anteng sesuatu sebab nak langkah. Servo kita waru kan di training kan aja. Song dong baru dah jauh dah nanti nombor pun aja aja kan di serba kan oke. Dia macam siapa? Dah selesai. Dan macam saya ni anak by way of having more women farmer friends, by way of having women in their advisory committees at the block district level, by way of women attending more of village-based trainings, demonstrations, farm schools. So we actually see a change happening, with the launch of this Atma scheme. And we see that the policy intervention which we had made at the government of India level, we see it happening in the states and regions. Kerala, the only 100% literate state in India, is entrapped in the old patriarchal system, which manifests itself in violence against women, declining land rights for women, and their poor employment profile. So based on a lot of research which had come when the new government came in power in 2006, just on the eve of the 11th plan, we had a big program to address the social and economic missing women. In Kerala, we have progressive kind of planning and policy maker assess and reflect on how can we address women's needs in sectors like infrastructure, which are not traditionally seen as gender related.
Most rural women in Canada are compelled to travel long distances every day to reach their workplace.
Those women who travel from outside the city, especially from long distance, either they have to stay there alone or with their family because they'll be having small children. Everybody is not single. So a basic thing is to give them a better, safe and affordable accommodation in the nearest area where they are being employed. So this is the basic idea by which a planning board of Kerala came to the field of constructing such buildings in Kerala.
The Kerala Planning Board's innovative housing scheme for working women involved constructing apartments close to their workplace, thereby ensuring them a safe and convenient stay.
ഇത് കിട്ടിയത് കൊണ്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ വേറുള്ള ഇത്ര ദൂരത്തുനിന്നാണ് ജോലി ചെയ്ത് ജീവിക്കുന്നവർക്ക് ഇവിടെ വീട് വാടകയ്ക്കെടുത്ത് താമസിക്കാനുള്ള കപ്പാസിറ്റി ഇല്ല. കാര്യം ഇവിടെ 8,000-7,000 രൂപ വാടക കൊടുക്കണം. ഇവിടെ ആകുമ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് 600 രൂപയെ വാടക ഉള്ളായിരുന്നു. 600 രൂപ കിട്ടുന്ന ശമ്പളം കൊണ്ട് വാടക എല്ലാം കൊടുത്ത് സുഖമായിട്ട് ജീവിക്കാം.
Lot of statistics says that the domestic violence and issues related to public places are increasing day by day.
Whenever a woman is subjected to violence, maybe physical or mental, they approach the doctor. Most often the doctors do not understand that particular lady is a victim of violence. So such cases are neglected just like any other medical legal case. When we thought of gender budgeting, we thought of having some centers in our institutions to cater the gender issues, especially those involved in the domestic violence.
The Bhumika Counseling Centres were started at all district headquarter hospitals by the government of Kerala as a part of its GRP initiative to rescue and support the women survivors of domestic violence.
A beneficiary who are coming to the cell, they will get all the facilities. That is assistance of the police, assistance of an advocate, and if they want any social securities like accommodation and all the services we get under this one roof.
But compared to the other state of India, Kerala got a very high score in education, health, and other social conditions and standards. But in the case of employability, while we are coming to that point, it's a little bit lower when compared to men.
ഇത്രയും കൂടുതൽ 14 years ഞാൻ വീട്ടിൽ ഹൗസ് വൈഫായിട്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്തതിന് ശേഷം മനസ്സിലൊരു ആഗ്രഹം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു ജോലി എടുക്കണം. അപ്പം അങ്ങനെ ഫസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റെപ്പ് വെക്കാൻ ഭയങ്കര പേടിയായിരുന്നു.
As a part of GRP, the Women's Development Corporation of Kerala started REACH, a professional grooming academy to impart women and girls employability training in various sectors through spoken English classes, computer operations, and several other social skills.
ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട് ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് മാത്രമാണ് എനിക്ക് അവിടെ പോകാനും ഞാൻ എന്റെ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആ ഒരു നെഗറ്റീവ്സ് എല്ലാം പോസിറ്റീവാക്കി എടുക്കാനും ആ ഒരു പോസിറ്റീവ് ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡിലേക്ക് ശരിക്കും വന്നത്. ഇതുവരെ എപ്പോഴും ഇവിടെ കോളേജിൽ പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ അച്ഛന്റെ കല്യാണം കഴിഞ്ഞ ഹസ്ബൻഡ് ഇതിന് എപ്പോഴും നമ്മളിപ്പോ സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് എന്ത് വാങ്ങണം slowly with great counseling and gender budgeting exercises of the government, plus training programs organized by the Department of Women and Child, there has been some triggering of thought at all levels regarding what should be done for women. Gender responsive budget allocation, coupled with
some policy directives coupled with a procedure for involvement of women at the grassroots level, at the cutting edge level, can really bring about change.
Gender budgeting is now come to be accepted as a way of integrating the needs of women into budgeting, which is a very important component of macro policy.
Gender responsive budgeting goes a long way towards ensuring that policies will be appropriate for meeting women's needs and empowering women, but much work has to come out and take the GRB work in the larger macroeconomic framework. Unless and until the larger macroeconomic framework is engendered, I think GRB alone, in a limited approach of merely allocating, tracking, and interrogating expenditure will not suffice. And therefore, our pitch and approach has to be much broader to engender the larger macroeconomic framework.
Vibhuti, I think we should start taking the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hetal, you have the questions ready?
Yeah, if anyone has any more questions, they can put it in the chat box. A few came in the beginning. I'll just read those out.
And you
Hmm.
can raise your hand and talk also. Please switch on your video and you can ask the question. That would be much better.
Yeah. And I think Swati Agarwal had asked for PPT. I have already shared. Can you see it? Around 5 o'clock. 16:59. I have shared the PPT. You can download it. Those who want it. Yeah. Smita.
Yeah.
again.
Thank you, Vibhuti. Thanks, Ita.
Yeah.
Mohammad Naved had commented in the beginning, would be great if examples from WASH sector were also used. SBM is such a big flagship program of GOI, but no focus on gender responsive budgeting.
Yeah. So I think WASH sector, I gave no example of Right to P campaign where the audit of BMC budget was done. Another thing is about the drinking water, especially in the drought-prone areas, and how the Rajasthan they had done the water budget, mainly the use of budget for, first of all, reviving the step wells. We have a whole culture of step wells in Western India. So they use the budget of reviving the step well plus rainwater harvesting program, and the question of this one also, creation of decentralized water bodies. No, that was Rajasthan had experimented. And about the toilet block, we have seen that in so many at a village level, the sanitation program that we have in that. But see, it all happens how proactive the elected representatives are. So you also saw in this film that wherever there is a coordination between bureaucrat, community, and the political representatives is strong, you see a lot of changes taking place. So rapport building is very important. So we have seen that even under the Swachh Bharat program, Nimrana, I have visited Nimrana. Nimrana is a village which was first declared as an open defecation free village. But there the Sarpanch herself is, first of all, Rajasthan government had made it mandatory that to contest the election, you have to be 12th pass. So suddenly the whole character of elected representatives has changed. There are so many young educated women in the panchayat also. There are even MBAs, MBA, MA. So Nimrana, where I went, Nimrana's Sarpanch is a MA in geography. Okay, that and she was wearing such a long gungat, but after she became pradhan, and she started only covering her head, and she mustered up courage to sit on the chair. Her husband only supported. Villagers would tell husband to sit on the chair, but then my husband said nothing doing. She has earned this through her hard work. It is her privilege to sit on the chair. And after that, she has brought in so many. They said she was the first. That was the first village to become open defecation free, because she used the panchayat funds for toilet blocks. In fact, we were taken to see all the facilities that were created by her, Madam Yadav. So WASH program also, the how serious the community and even cultural constraint. There are certain communities which consider using of toilet is dirty because that smells and all, and open defecation is far more. So those stereotypes, those beliefs have to be changed, number one. And number two is that you have to send the proposal. Otherwise, the WASH budget is very high, but it has to be utilized. There have been many successful examples. In fact, there is a big study done by IRMA, Institute of Rural Management Study, of 6 states, and what is the condition of WASH status, especially in the context of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Very insightful study. Why the results are different. It's a Bengal, Orissa, and Gujarat. And then there are 3 southern states. The response to WASH is very different, and the cultural context is also very important in that. And that's why both changing the beliefs of people, customs and tradition, changing the customs and traditions, and also the being proactive in utilizing the schemes which are there, because sanitation budget is very high. And even CSR currently, if you see, most of the CSR fund is going either on Swachh Bharat or the sanitation. No, that has been given top priority. The public-private partnerships are also happening in that era, this area. Yeah. In fact, Karnataka teamed up with a Rotary Club because the attendance of girls was extremely poor, and all menstruating girls had stopped coming to school because there was no toilet block and no running water. So they teamed up with the Rotary Club, and under public-private partnership in government schools, they created toilet blocks with tapped water. That connectivity also they brought. And after that, they saw that the retention rate in the schools increased.
I hope that answers your question. There is another comment and a question by Anurag Anthony. Even it's a mandate for all ULBs that have to separately shown 10 to 20% budget dedicatedly allocate for urban poor slum like settlement, but in the most of the budget it's not separately put.
Yeah, I think the separate listing, the way we have demanded separate listing of the schemes, programs, and budgetary allocation, funds, functions, functionaries allocated on gender concerns. I think similarly, the organizations like here, there is Jamila Begum is there. She's in a Ghar Bachao, Ghar Banao movement. So even at the community level, this type of pressure has to be created, because the way Right to P campaign could ensure certain responsibility on the part of BMC, Municipal Corporation, and the committees in which there were bureaucrats, there are elected representatives, corporators, and the community organizations. These kind of structures are there, and the accountability is higher.
And they have asked any best examples of ULBs in India prepared budgets from a gender perspective.
At Pune, people are admiring Pune, because when it comes to Pune Municipal Corporation, then in Chinchawadi also, there's a wealthiest corporation in Asia now, because there are so many residents who are working abroad and they are sending money order to that this thing in a different ways. So in terms of receptivity to gender responsive budgeting and the suggestions by the gender economists, people admire Pune. because they have come up with the support to this thing as SHGs, then the rural-urban linkages, the kind of mandis they have created to facilitate that farmers can directly do the sale to, there are everywhere, there are big mandis supported by Pune Municipal Corporation. And even in the Pune Metro, the gender sensitivity programs are organized. And there are so many women who are also at different levels for metro, right from motor women, like those who are running the metro, so that they have provided. MSRTC, they have worked also with the Maharashtra State Road Corporation, this thing, and they have come up with a very comprehensive report in collaboration with UNDP, MASUM as an organization, ICRW, International Committee on Women and Research on Women, and they have come up with a comprehensive report of how to make MSRTC very gender friendly, and not only in terms of facilities to be provided to women commuters and the safety to be provided to women commuters, but also recruitment at different level as a conductors, as a driver. And you saw that how they started a training program with the tribal educated 12th pass type tribal girls, tribal women, they train them to become drivers, and that experiment also they have started. And the Pune Municipal Corporation has also provided a dedicated place for women SHGs and women producers to to sell their products directly to the consumer, so they don't have to depend on the agents. Plus, they are also training women in branding, that whatever you make, whether it's a pickle or snacks or processed food or pulp, whatever, you also need to have a quality. Without that, people will not buy. So how to brand your product. So this kind of capacity building classes are also organized by Pune Municipal Corporation. It's considered to be very progressive and proactive.
If anyone has any more questions, they can unmute themselves and ask, or they can put it in the chat box. We have a question from Ina Goel.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Vibhuti Patel, for such a wonderful session, and Population First for providing this opportunity for interaction. My question to the professor is how does one do gender budgeting communities where there is a data gap for sexual minorities like the Hijra community, and link local with global numbers like census data?
Yeah, see, the nationally government accepts that 4% of India's population is gender and sexual minority. It's when it comes to the head count, the overall census, only Kerala and Tamil Nadu have completed the census of the transgender community. And that too, like there are various, there are intersex, there are transgender women, transgender men, there are some in transition who are changing their identity. So all the data, even among the transgender community, the disaggregated data is required because their needs are different. So that is done by Kerala has completed the census, and Tamil Nadu initiated the intervention program based on their data on transgender person. But even in census, like the overall population census also, we need to give the detailed classification of transgender community so that developmental interventions can be made. No? Yeah. Very important. Data gap is very high. And that's why when we talk about gender disaggregated data, it is not only data about men and women, but men, women, and sexual minorities and transgender. Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. Are there any more questions someone would like to unmute and ask?
So shall we close?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ma'am, I'm just launching a feedback form.
Yeah.
It will appear on everyone's screen, so they can just answer those questions, and so we can collect a feedback. Yeah, Dr. Shada, it has been launched. It should be on their screen. Please fill those questions. Yeah, I would like to invite Dr. Shada to give her closing remarks and a formal vote of thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vibhuti, for that wonderful session. As most of the participants have been saying, it's really an eye opener, and it gives so much. It had given us so much of information and insight into gender budgeting, and we are indebted to you for this wonderful session. And on the video because my bandwidth is very low. So it is really wonderful. It was really a wonderful. And I hope all the participants who are here with us today learn to or use the understanding and insights that they have got to write more insightful stories. And if they're in the social sector, to create the kind of community demand for gender sensitive budgets, and if they're in media, to write more stories on gender sensitive budgets or gender sensitivity in budgets, analyze budgets from gender perspective. And it all of us have benefited a lot. And to tell you frankly, I'm so excited about, when I listen to your presentation, I see so many possibilities of taking this whole agenda of creating that kind of social awareness among various stakeholders on the importance of gender sensitive or gender analysis of budgets and gender responsive budgets. And I'll be getting back to you to see how we can take this campaign or create a campaign around this uh, in the next few months. And thank you, Hetal, for doing such a wonderful job of conducting the session. And I thank each and every one of the participants who's here, who listened to you so carefully and have asked questions. And we will keep in touch, and we'll make a WhatsApp group for this session. Your numbers are there with us, and then we will keep sharing more information about gender budgets and some of these topics. And I'm sure Vibhuti will be able to share more information, articles, etc., for you to enable you to understand this issue or this topic more clearly. So thanks a ton to everyone, and I hope to keep in touch with each one of you. And of course, I know Vibhuti is there with us all the time, and I look forward to working with you, Vibhuti, on this very important issue. I think we need to have more such sessions in the coming months with various stakeholders. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Please, everyone, please fill the feedback form before leaving the meeting. That would be really helpful.
So can we leave, Vibhuti and I?